Every single person who does makeup needs to know these 5 incredible concealer hacks and tricks. Absolutely. Hi everyone, it's Smitha. Welcome back. If you enjoy this tutorial, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And without further delay, let's begin. I usually apply concealer after foundation. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my foundation all over my face, other than around my eyes where I'll be using the concealer. The brush that I'm using to apply the foundation is from Real Techniques, clearly one of the best brushes to apply your foundation. Now that we have the foundation on, tip number 1. With a concealer that's a true match to your skin tone, always carry a lighter and a darker shade. When I say lighter and darker, at least 2 shades lighter and 2 shades darker than your match. And why is that? Because you can mix and match if you don't have the right shade of concealer. If you bought a concealer that's too light for you, it can look ashy on you, especially when you apply it over your hyperpigmentation and dark circles. So all you have to do then is mix in a bit of deeper shade of concealer to get your true match. That way it cancels out the blue undertones in your dark circles and it won't look ashy. So as you can see now, it's a perfect match. I'm going to apply the residue on my eyelid as well. Sometimes the opposite can happen. Your concealer might turn out dark or too dark for your skin tone. So use your lighter concealer. Just mix in with the deeper concealer to get the shade of your skin tone. It's just a one-time investment to get a deeper shade and a lighter shade, and then you can mix and match all of your concealers to get the perfect shade that you need. That way you have the perfect shade of concealer to your skin tone every single time. The next tip is one of my favorite tips. If you do not like to set your concealer with powder because you either have dry skin or it cakes up, then use a nude eye pencil that's a close match to your skin tone to cover up your dark circles instead of a concealer. Eye pencils dry quickly, so they don't need to be set with any powder. And for every day, I don't even use concealer or makeup. I just use a nude pencil around my eyes, like for my dark circles, around my mouth where I have the dark patches, as well as to cover up some of those dark spots. It's quick and it's easy. All you have to do is apply a nude pencil and quickly blend it out with your finger. And as you can see, that has pretty much covered up my dark circles beautifully. And if you ever have a nude pencil that dries up, you can lightly warm it up with a hair dryer so you can easily apply it under your eyes without tugging or pulling, and you don't ever have to set it with powder. It lasts an entire day without creasing. The next tip is girlies like me who have dark circles and hyperpigmentation. If you avoid using a color corrector and then a concealer over it because it cakes up, it's too many layers, then this tip is for you. Usually the norm when you have hyperpigmentation or dark circles is to first apply a peach corrector to cancel out the blue and purple undertones. Wait for it to completely dry and then apply your concealer over it to blend it out. That'll help to cover up and conceal the dark circles and patches without looking ashy. But the issue is it's time consuming because you're applying 2 products, and it can also cake up because you're layering. So if you don't want too many layers, try mixing a little bit of color corrector with your concealer. Like I'm doing here, I'm just taking a little bit of the peach corrector and thoroughly mixing it with my favorite concealer. And now the concealer has a peach undertone, which I will apply over my dark circles and get the same effect as it was on the other side. But here, we just have 1 layer. The next tip is something that I use often with a darker shade of concealer, with a shade that's a true match to your skin tone, and then a lighter shade of concealer. You can use a darker shade of concealer as a color corrector because it has orange undertones. It's going to cancel out the blue and purple undertones and neutralize your skin. Over this, you can use a concealer that's a true match to your skin tone to completely conceal your dark circles. And as you can see, that has completely covered my dark circle without looking ashy. Over this, you can use a lighter shade of concealer to highlight. So I'm going to be using a little bit in the inner and outer corners and quickly blend it out with a concealer brush from Real Techniques. And as you can see, that has brightened up my under eyes. So you know how to work with a darker, a true match, and a lighter shade of concealer. Here's my favorite tip to prevent your concealer from settling in the fine lines and creasing. As you can see, the concealer has creased under my eyes. Instead of applying your concealer directly under your eyes, figure out where your fine lines are. For me, it's more prominent in the center like most people. So I'm going to apply my concealer where my dark circles are the darkest, avoiding those fine lines. So mostly in the inner and outer corners. And I'm going to apply just a tad bit under the fine lines. I'm going to wait for a couple minutes till it's a little bit dry and tacky. It's easier to blend and it gives you more coverage. And then I'm going to quickly dab and blend it out. And while blending, some of that concealer might get in your fine lines, which is okay because it's minimum product. What I'm going to do is use a fine tip cotton swab to remove that concealer from the fine lines. So if there's no concealer or less product settling in those fine lines, the chances of creasing is also minimized. And then with my finger, I'm going to even out the concealer. So it's going to remove the concealer from the fine lines, but even out my skin. So there's very less product or absolutely no product settled inside those fine lines for it to crease. And then very lightly, I'm going to set with a translucent loose powder. And as you can see, although you can still see my fine lines because I have fine lines, it hasn't creased underneath like my left eye. And from a distance, you can't even see those fine lines. And those were the top 5 favorite tips that I feel like everybody needs to know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you soon with a brand new one. Love you guys. Bye.